Guys, actually, welcome. So, what we're going to see the next 2 hours is about a session on what are these concepts of Lean and Six Sigma in finance and accounts, especially. Uh, 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 a subject which can be applied to any industry. So, what do we have for the next 2 hours quickly? Before that, a quick introduction already has been done. Actually, I'll not take much of time. But just to give you an idea, actually, I have 30 years plus. Actually, I do teach analytics, Lean, Six Sigma, and multiple things. Actually, uh, I brought in some cognitive bias, uh, theory of irrationality into service quality, and then my research area is in the areas of business excellence and experimental psychology. Uh, I worked in multiple industries, so I'm a more horizontal guy. So I worked in automotive to aerospace. In fact, some of the fields that I've not mentioned here, agriculture, to various places I've done, and we have applied this as a concept. Retail, healthcare, various other. Trained and coached a number of people actually across the world, especially and across verticals. Actually, I worked actually across multiple industry domain also. This, I think, one of your colleagues spoke about. I'll not talk about it. Some of the achievements that I have is actually all about impact projects, high impact projects. I do a lot of business excellence assessment for large corporates. I'm a lead assessor for CA Exim Award for Quality for Business Excellence. I do for large corporates every year. So a couple of things that I have achieved, but still a long way to go to achieve more things. Good. What do we see today? These are the 7 things that we will see today in the next 2-hour session. Let's begin with what is quality, fundamentals of quality, and what is the difference between quality and grade. Quality control and quality assurance, these are terms that are very commonly used. What is the difference between that? We'll figure it out. Some of the quality professionals also struggle to understand this concept actually. So let's go back to the fundamentals, basics, understand that, yeah? Lean, Six Sigma, what are these two concepts that we are talking about, which is core of the subject? 8 types of waste, process thinking, and then DMAC journey, define, measure, analyze, improve, control. How does this journey look like and what is that we'll see. And we will also see an example of how this is being applied in an F&A process, finance and accounts process. This was applied to one of the largest finance and accounts process here in India. So I'm going to take you a case of that in terms of how we applied this concept there in the F&A. Yeah, make sense? Yeah, this is what we're going to look at in the next 2 hours. So the first, but before that, I'd say let's also quickly understand what I intend to and what you will be learning from this actually as a program. The program objectives, you gain a deeper understanding of quality management, you learn the basics of Six Sigma, you understand and apply process thinking to solving problems. Is a very, very important term. If you have this process thinking, let me tell you, this is a very, very critical one. If you have this, you can solve problems. Let me tell you, you have clarity of thought. Your clarity of thought will be so laser focused that you can solve any problems. Yeah, that's what we're going to see today. Yeah, how do we methodically solve any problem, be it in personal life or in professional life also. So that's an important one that we'll see. Of course, how do we apply Lean and Six Sigma in finance and accounts management? That's what we're going to see as a program objective. So let's begin with what is quality. So what I want you to think about for a minute, you can discuss with your partners there out there also, and I'll give you some scenarios and you're going to explain me what is quality from your understanding. Yeah, let's understand that. So let's say I have an option to buy a mobile phone, let's say. Now if I want to buy a mobile phone, I can go to an Apple store, buy an iPhone, or I can buy something like a Samsung, or I go to another place called in Chennai. I don't know if you're aware. There's a place called Ritchie Street. We've been there. Yeah, where they sell a lot of electronics items and all those things. You can also buy a cell from there. Actually, you can also buy a mobile phone from there. So, what do you understand as a quality when you look at these 3 scenarios? Any one of you? What do you think? Go ahead, go ahead. I told you there is nothing called right or wrong here. It's basically an interactive. I want this to be interactive. Please share your thoughts. What do you understand from a quality perspective between a Samsung mobile, Apple, or a Xiaomi, or a Oppo, or whatever, or any of those? Yeah, go ahead. What do you think?
So the cost and the premium decides the quality of the product.
Which one?
The cost or the premium of the product.
So cost is an indicator of quality. Wow. Okay. And then the premium. What do you mean by premium? Can you define premium? Cost at least I can define. Yeah.
The premium products are like the iPhone premium.
Which is brand.
The brand.
Okay. Okay. Brand. Lovely. Okay. Any other thoughts?
It's features, sir.
Sorry?
Features.
Features. Yeah. So let's assume, I'll give you, slightly rephrase that scenario. The features are same. So I'll give you one more example. I want to buy a car. I can go for a Hyundai. I can go for a BMW. Now what's the difference here? Of course the cost, brand, those things. Yeah, go ahead. Somebody was saying? Process, okay. Do the customers have a good knowledge about the processes? Not necessary, right? In some places it doesn't. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Quickly. Okay. Meeting the customer expectation. Wonderful. Give her a round of applause first. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, good. Any other thoughts? Any other thoughts? Emotion, brand, psychology. Oh, okay. Any other? Marketing. Standard. Okay.
The value they created previously.
How do you define value?
Brand value.
The brand value. Okay. All of these things matters, right? Fine. So let me make a statement now. Because I bought a mobile from Richie Street, can I say that it's of a low quality compared to an iPhone or a Samsung? Yes or no? I need only one answer. Yes or no? How many say yes? How many say no? I'm asking a simple question. The answer is a monosyllable, one word response. Yes or no? Does the phone that I buy, one from the Richie Street here in Chennai, is it of a low quality compared to a Samsung and an Apple? Yes or no? Anybody saying no? Who is saying no? You're saying no? Ah, why? He has a point. Yeah, go ahead. Why do you think it's not a comparable on a quality basis? Yeah, go ahead.
It might or it might not be up to the standards where they sell iPhone and Samsung.
So,
The product might be defective or not might be defective.
okay.
Insurance which we get in iPhone and Samsung showroom
Ah.
might not be available in Richie Street.
So, which is why you're saying that Richie Street phone is of a lesser quality compared to Samsung mobile or a Apple? Is that what you're saying? I'm asking a simple question.
Quality and assurance are two different terms.
Okay. Okay. So let me give you one more example. I want to buy a shirt. I go to T Nagar. There's a street shop, right? On the roadside. I can buy a shirt. Or I can walk into one of the branded showroom, right? Any of those branded showrooms. And I can buy a shirt. Can you say that that shirt that I bought in that platform or the street vendor is of a lower quality compared to one that I bought from the branded showroom? Think. Huh? Yes? Okay. So, this is applicable for everything, product, service, everything. So, to understand this, I think first we need to get a basic understanding of a difference between quality and grade. Remember this term? What is this term? Grade. So, what is quality? What is grade? Let's get this right. Let's get this right. So, what is quality? Quality is meeting functional requirement. That's what that girl on the last row said. Meeting my expectations, meeting my functional requirements, meeting my requirements is what quality is all about. Yeah. Suppose if I have only 1,500 rupees and I can't afford a branded mobile, I might go to a Richie Street and still buy one for 1,000 rupees. Nothing wrong. Yes or no?
Even iPhones are available at Richie Street but at a lower price.
Yes. That could be spurious. That we will come to that later. We'll come to that. I'm only asking a question. When you look at two products, yeah, there are certain elements added to that. I'll give you an example. One of my friend is manufacturing t-shirts here in Tirupur and he's exporting it. So whenever I want to buy a t-shirt, I go to him. But the same t-shirt is available in Marks and Spencer's with a brand of Marks and Spencer's. All that the difference is, it's set in a shop with a brand, but manufactured by my friend sitting in Tirupur. You got what I'm saying? So, what is the difference here? Let's understand these two terms, quality and grade. Quality is meeting functional requirements. Grade is about technical characteristics. This is the most important term. The plastic used in BMW could be of a higher grade compared to a plastic used in Hyundai. The other day I'm having a Jeep Compass. So I was just slowly going. Somebody came and banged me at the back. I just went outside and I just wanted to check what happened. I just had a small scratch. But the guy's front end bumper is gone. So what's the difference here? Look at this and tell me. Both are meeting the requirements of the customer. The guy is happy buying probably a Nissan or a Suzuki or anything. He's happy because that's what he wants. But the grade used, the technical characteristics of this product, be it a plastic or steel or anything, is of a lower level compared to one that you find in some of the other brands. So, the price I want to pay is not only for meeting the functional requirements. As long as it meets the functional requirements, it meets quality. That's fine. But I'm actually also paying the price for the grade. And it's applicable for every industry. You take a construction industry, cement grade, plastic grade. Are we clear? Technical characteristics of a product is called as grade. Now you buy a gold from Saravana stores. You buy a gold from GRT. You buy a gold from Damas. So you can't say that the one that I buy from Saravana stores is of a lower quality. It could be a lower grade, I do not know. That's why you are asking for a 91.6% purity with a hologram, right? So that's a technical grade of that particular product. So this is applicable for product, it is applicable for service also. Let's say I recruit from tier 1 institutions and I also recruit from tier 2 institutions. Both are meeting the job description. Both are meeting my job requirements. So what's the difference? Why should I pay something for a tier 1 institution higher than a tier 2? Both are MBA. Both have done very well in the written test and everything. So what's the difference here? Understand it from the point of view of quality and grade. The quality of recruit, the grade of a recruit. Probably the tier 1 institution is giving you the ambience to learn more things, and your technical attributes of how you behave, how you talk, how you articulate, how you understand the concept is of a higher level compared to probably an institution which doesn't give you the ambience and the environment. Do you agree? And that's where the difference comes. That's where the difference comes. So, please understand, always, there is a difference between quality and grade. Quality is meeting functional requirements. Grade is technical characteristics. In other words, what we are saying is, if it doesn't meet my functional requirements, in other words, if you say it's a lower quality, that means it doesn't meet my functional requirements, then it's a useless product or a service. But I might have a product which meets my functional requirements, but of a lower grade. It's okay. That's what I'm paying for. That's why I'm paying for that plastic. Because I understand that the technical characteristic of that plastic will be only of that much. You getting what I'm saying? So, technical characteristics is about grade. So, in other words, what we are saying is, a low quality is always a problem. Whereas, a lower grade need not be a problem, because still I can use it. Still I can use that cell phone that I'm buying from Ritchie Street. Still I can wear that shirt that I buy from the platform vendor. Yes or no? Yeah? It meets my functional requirements, it meets my budget, it meets my expectations. Probably if my expectation is on the brand and I want to show off, then it's a different call. But my point is, as long as it meets the functional requirement, that's what the quality gurus talk about. As long as it's something, a product or a service meets the functional requirements, that means it has met the quality, and grade is all about technical characteristics. Please understand the basic difference between quality and grade. Never use the term, oh, that's of low quality. When you say low quality, you better be careful when you say that. That means what? It doesn't meet my functional requirements. It's useless. So, if it's usable, if it meets my functional requirements, you have to correct your term, a phrase saying that it's of a low grade, not a low quality. Is that clear, everybody? That's a huge difference that I want you to understand, some fundamentals, basics. So, what are we talking about? Let's go back and understand quality control and quality assurance. Any thoughts on this? You heard of this term? Quality control, quality assurance, what is the difference? Quick idea? Anybody? Quickly. Yes, no? Have you heard of the term, yes or no? Very good. So, what is the meaning of it? Guys, let me tell you, even at 15 years experience, 20 years experience, 25 years experience, people struggle with the fundamentals. People struggle with the basics. If you don't have clarity on basics and fundamentals, forget it. Let me tell you. The other day I had a guy from one of the top-notch institute here, done his analytics, excellent guy, very good in programming. We were working for one of the largest conglomerate for creating a CXO cockpit, CXO dashboard, digital dashboard. The guy could not understand the basics of statistics. He is certified data scientist. The guy could not. Why? Because he doesn't have the fundamentals. Before learning analytics, you should learn statistics. If you do not even know statistics, please don't even think of analytics. Let me tell you. Very clear. So fundamentals are very important. So let's go back to the fundamentals. What is quality control? What is quality assurance? Please, guys, tell me. What do you understand? Yes, please. Lovely. Give her a round of applause. Yeah. So quality control is output quality. The reason why I'm using the word output is because it can be a product, it can be a service also. Let's say I'm doing in a call center. I'm not producing any product. I'm just servicing the customer, right? I'm just servicing the customer. Now, the output of a call center is what? There are certain KPIs for a call center. Similarly, I'm doing a financial transaction processing, invoice processing, accounts payables, accounts receivables, whatever. So, there is an output that I produce which may not be a tangible physical product. It can be service also. So, that's why I'm using the word output quality. So, quality control is all about output quality and quality assurance is all about process quality. That's why the word assurance. So, there is a saying that if you take care of the process, the product quality is taken care. Simple. Yeah. So, basically what you're saying here is quality control is related to output quality, which means it can be a product or a service, and quality assurance is about process. But let's understand what is process. What is process? Quickly, guys. Fundamentals. Yes. Lovely. So that's one example. Give him a round of applause, guys. So process of converting a raw material into finished goods, semi-finished goods, whatever, actually depending upon what you're doing. Basically, in a simple language, we are talking about
Systematic way in which a product or service goes through certain phases.
yeah, absolutely, predetermined phases and so on and so forth. You would have actually learned that if you want to really improve the output, you work on the process and the input variables. In other words, what you're saying, there's a feedback loop that goes into the input and the process. So this is your input, this is your output. So if you want to work on the output, then obviously you have to work on this too. Yeah, that's what we learned actually in the control systems. That's the model that we are looking at in the process thinking also. So whenever you do a quality control, what are we trying to do? Actually, we are looking at the various output quality standards. Output means what? Product or a service. Examples of product standards, I've given some examples. Underwriter Laboratory, CE. Have you seen in your phone there is a symbol called CE? What is that? That's a product standard. That means the product has to pass those standards. That's called the output standard. Are you clear? So each industry has its, actually I'm just giving an example, or the industry by itself can create its own internal standards also. It can be an external benchmarking standard or an internal standard also. Examples of underwriter, laboratory, CE, all those things. So what is the equivalent in a process standard? How do I know that the process standards? What are the process standards? Example of process standards. Sorry, ma? Yeah. So what are the standards? Examples. Give me some examples. Known examples. Thickness of the steel is a standard on the product, which is the output, because you're going to test it on the quality control. Quality assurance, process. Give me some international standards, benchmarking standards. ISO, CMMI. So in other words, what we are talking about, process quality is about how? Process quality is about what? How. And quality control is about what? So does it meet my drawing dimensions? That is quality control. Because I have a dimension to say that the product has to have certain thickness, certain dimensions, and so on and so forth. Yeah, that's a technical characteristic that I'm checking based on a drawing or some standard. So that is quality control. But in the process quality, we are talking about the how. That means, are you following the steps? Do you follow that 5 steps you are supposed to follow as per the standard operating procedure? That's what I check in the quality assurance. Is that clear, everybody? Yeah. So how is what we are looking at in the process. So whenever I do a quality control, I check against internal or external standards based on output quality standards. It could be product or service. So how do I do this? What are the various activities? The terms that we use for quality control. What are the terms we use? Inspection, checking, testing a software, quality control. It's not quality assurance. Testing a product, quality control. Please remember this. Yeah. Are you getting what I'm saying? Yeah. Checking. So in a financial industry, actually, I'm going to do an invoice processing. Has the invoice being processed accurately? Has the data has been entered into the system properly? All these are quality control. All these are control. But for doing an invoice processing, I'm supposed to follow 6 process steps. Have I followed the 6 steps? That is process. That is process. Have you followed those 6 steps to get your invoice processed? Is that clear? So that is why this is about process quality. So the key word here is actually process quality, and the key word here in quality control is output quality. Is that clear, everybody? Yeah? Quickly. What is the equivalent here in the process? If you want to check if you are following that particular compliance with the process, are you adhering to those 6 steps that you are supposed to follow? Then we do it through an activity called as audit, process review, and so on and so forth. Is that clear? So whenever I do an inspection, testing, checking, what is the output of that? What is the output of that? Guys, you do an inspection to see if the dimension thickness is as per that drawing, which is 5 mm plus or minus 0.01. Let's say it's a tolerance given. So what are you trying to do in that? Yeah, report is this one, but what's exactly what you're looking for? What is the term? What's the term? Beautiful. Who said that? Wow. Give her a round of applause. Defects. That's the term. That is exactly the term. There is one more term called defective. There's one more term called defective, which is interchangeably used without even knowing the difference between that. So what's the difference between defect and defective? Tell me. What's the difference? What's the difference? Did I ask you a difficult question or what? Huh? No answer is the wrong answer. Don't worry. What do you understand? Defect, defective. Have you heard of these terms? Yes or no? Hello?
Defect can be resolved and a defective product cannot be, it is framed as a defective one.
Okay. You're there actually, but we need some more clarity in that. You're there actually, but there's some more clarity required. What is the difference between defect and defective? Please tell me. Fundamentals, huh? These fundamentals. I'm telling you today, even some of the experienced quality professionals do not know the difference between quality control, quality assurance. I'm giving you the fundamentals. If you're strong in these fundamentals, then you can build. You can build a skyscraper on that. Yeah. Your foundation has to be very strong, right? Yeah. So what's the difference between defect and defective? Yeah, go ahead. What is your name? Ah, wonderful. Go ahead. Yeah, you're there actually. Give them, both of them, a round of applause. You also were there, you're also there. So let me give you an example. Let's say this is a product I'm using. I'm the customer, right? This is a product I'm using. It's a digital pen I'm using, I'm just trying to do. Now I find in this product two defects. The edge of the nib is not so sharp and it's giving me some smudges. That's one defect. There's another defect that is so softly rounded, is I'm not getting the grip of this pen. These are customer dissatisfaction. I'm a customer, right? I'm user of this pen. I'm a customer. So this product is a defective product with two defects. One on the nib, another one on the surface finish of this particular product. So which means this product has n number of opportunities to fail. You getting what I'm saying? So which means a defective product is what the customer sees it. A defect is what you should be looking for if you want to really improve things. Are we clear? So a defective product or a service has n number of opportunities to fail, and those failures are also called as the defects. Are we clear, everybody? Yeah? So I was asking one of the guys in one of the industry, let's say you get a complaint from a customer through an email, and the customer is talking about two problems he is facing of whatever you supplied as a product. Let's say you got two problems and he's writing in one mail. He's written one email complaint, but he's talking about two problems. So I asked him a simple question, will you count it as one or two? If you count it as one, that's defective. That's customer perspective. But if I am an improvement manager, if I am a continual improvement manager, quality manager, I will consider this two, because I have to fix both the problems to satisfy the customer. Yes or no? Yeah? So that's the difference between defective and defect. Please understand this fundamental difference. Next time when you use these terms, I want you to be very, very careful. Every word that I say here has a very, very profound meaning. So carefully observe that and make sure that next time you don't make a mistake of confusing between defect and defective, quality control, quality assurance, quality grade and quality and grade. Yeah? Okay, so whenever I do an audit or a process review and then find out if the process is meeting certain quality standards like ISO, CMMI or internal standards or whatever, actually, what am I looking for? I'm looking for some observations, process gaps, and I give it in the form of a non-conformance report or a observation. So these terms are used in that specific language. So the moment I say inspection, testing, checking, it has got nothing to do with quality assurance. It's quality control. Please understand. Are we clear, everybody? So next time, whenever I get a defective, what am I supposed to do? I collect the data. Immediately when I get the defect from the customer and the customer is screaming out of this roof saying that I've got a problem, my line is stopped or whatever actually he's talking about. So what are you doing first? Whenever you get a complaint, what do you do first? Huh? Rectify. Beautiful. All the R's, repair, replace, rectify, rework, replace, whatever actually you're going to do that, right? But that's like putting out the fire. But the next question he's going to ask is what? The customer is going to ask what? After you rectified, I'm happy. Thank you. Wonderful job done. But what is the next question I'm going to ask? What will happen next time? Can you assure me the next lot or the next time I will not have this problem? That means I'm using the word what? Assure. That means he's asking for an assurance. That assurance cannot come from just rectifying and repairing. Do you agree? Yes or no? Yeah? So I don't have a trust in you. I don't have confidence in you that next time also you will not have this problem. So I want an assurance from you. So which means as a quality improvement manager, I am supposed to feed in this defect and defective data into quality assurance and improve my process so that any of these defects will not reoccur again. You saw the connection between quality control and quality assurance? You're assuring the customer, giving him or her the confidence that next time there will not be any problem in this. Is that clear, everybody? Yeah? That's what is the difference between quality control and quality assurance. So whenever I get a defect or defective, what's the next step I do? Correction. What is correction? Rectify, replace, repair, putting out the fire. Customer is screaming. Give him a gesture of good faith. Give him a gift. Go visit. Do whatever actually, but you are making the customer happy, right? That's what you're trying to do. Now, is that sufficient? No. I have to do something else also. What is that? Huh? How? That's an English term. What's our quality terminology? Corrective action, preventive action. In fact, ISO has removed this word preventive action because preventive action, none of the companies do actually. As far as I know, actually there are 2 companies who does world class actually very well. We'll come to that. Now let's understand the basic difference between corrective action, preventive action. Now I've clearly put this corrective action and preventive action under the category called quality assurance. Correction is quality control. So what's the difference here? Let's understand the difference between corrective action, preventive action. So let's say an example, let's take an example. Let's say this building is on fire, literally on fire, literally on fire. What will you do? Run, evacuate, right? We evacuate, we save ourselves, yeah? Then somebody who is trained as a fire marshal will come and put off the fire, right? That's what you do, right? Yes or no? Yes? So that's called in our language, fixing the problem. That's called correction. You fix the problem. But the next question they are going to ask is, what is the cause of this fire? Why it happened? Some investigation has to happen, right? You need to understand because there is a loss of finance, loss of property, it could be a loss of life, it could be anything, right? So you need to understand the cause of this failure. Now that's where comes the corrective action, preventive action. So let's take the same example of the building fire. So after the fire marshal is put in, so a set of team comes and investigates and trying to find out what caused this fire. And that cause that has caused this failure. In other words, what we call it as actually probable causes. The causes, the suspicious causes or the causes that has caused this failure, if I attack, then that is called as fixing the process. That means the cause could be a smoking bud, electrical short circuit, whatever. I just try to figure out what is the cause for this and then I go and fix that actually. So that is called fixing the process, corrective action. That means those causes are called as probable causes. But can you again still guarantee that fire will not happen here? Just because you fix that 1 or 2 causes? Not necessary. Because there are also what we call it as potential causes that can cause fire in this building. Are you getting? Yeah? There are also causes that may cause fire in future. You may not have experience in this time, but there are many reasons that this building can be on fire. Now what are you doing about it? How are you going to fix those potential causes? That is called preventive action. Is that clear, everybody? Preventive action is nothing but fixing the potential causes, in other words, fixing the system. It's very tough. It takes a hell of a lot of time and effort. And what is the tool used for this? Any tool? Yeah. You were saying something. What is a famous tool used for fixing the system? Addressing the potential causes. The cause that can cause in fire in future also. What is that? No? Huh? Forecasting? Okay, that's fine. But I need to, there's a very famous qualitative tool. Of course, forecasting can be quantitative also because you don't have data. A forecasting is what? It can actually, it's an extension of past. But here I'm talking about a illustrative scenario of what has not happened in the past, but it's going to happen in future. You getting what I'm saying? Hello? Huh? How? You don't have data. I'm not even talking about the past, right? Forecasting can happen only from the past, yes or no? Past data, it's an extension of past actually. You either use a regression or you use a time series, ARMA, ARIMA, decomposition, all of those things you do. That's fine, no problem. But my point is you don't have data here. So this is about what is going to happen in future. It's potential. That's why the word is potential. So what is the famous tool? Yeah, anybody? No idea? So that's called actually FMEA, failure mode effects analysis. Yeah, very famous tool used for understanding the potential causes, failure mode effects analysis. Yeah, I'm going to give you this at the end of the session, so you don't have to make a note of it, but please carefully listen to this. So failure mode effects analysis is a very famous tool that came out of NASA when they first launched their space missions, and is very famously used in many of the mission critical processes where you can't afford to have failure just because you know that it has not happened in the past. It might happen in future. You getting the difference? So which means I need to be prepared for future also. And the same thing is used for terrorist attack, and the same thing is used for many of those things, because you should think beyond and find out, not just looking at the past. You should look at the future also and try to fix the potential causes. Yeah? Anything you want to say? Good. Clear, everybody? FMEA, failure mode effects analysis. That's what we do. So in Six Sigma language, if you're fixing the probable causes or fixing the process, it's called as yellow belt, green belt project. If you are fixing the system, that means you are addressing the potential causes, then it's called as a black belt project. That's why black belt project typically takes about 6 months to 18 months. When I was in GE doing my 18-month project as a black belt, I was full-time 18 months into only one project. 18 months, one project. Because you need to address all the potential causes and then try to fix the system. Is that clear, everybody? That's how you are able to assure the customer that the defects will not reoccur. Is that clear, everybody? Any questions? Quickly. Raise your hands if you want. Anything? Are we clear, everybody? There? Here? Everybody? Good. So, quality, we have spoken about it. Understanding the requirements, designing the products and services, developing processes, and then making sure you control and manage the process so that you are able to deliver quality, good quality. Yeah? So what is Lean and Six Sigma? Let's now jump into Lean and Six Sigma. You understood quality, great. You understood defect, defective. You understood the difference between correction, corrective action, and preventive action. You understood all of those things. But let's understand what is Lean and Six Sigma. What is Lean, Six Sigma? Clear? So what is Lean? Lean is about, it came from where first? Let's understand. It came from Japan. There was a guy called Taiichi Ohno from Toyota. He wanted to make Toyota a world-class company. That time America was on the top, and all the Ford, Chrysler, all these automobile companies were on the top. But Japan was almost reeling under after that nuclear bomb and everything. They were struggling, right? So he came out with the concept and he said, let's improve productivity. So how to improve productivity? So he said, let's focus on waste. Let's focus on waste. Wherever you find a waste, go and fix it. Simple. Sounds very commonsensical, right? But it's uncommon. Yeah, because sometimes commonsensical things become uncommon. So he said, walk around the floor, find out if there is a waste, go and fix that waste. Improve the productivity of the company, improve the efficiency of the company, make sure that the company becomes world class. That's how Taiichi Ohno brought this Toyota production system, and then later it became world class, and then Toyota was able to even overtake some of the American car manufacturers. If you remember the 1980s, 84, 85, around that time, there was a complete competition, cutthroat competition between Japan and US, and finally Japan succeeded exporting all of its automobiles to US, and it had its huge market in US actually. Even today Toyota is leading the way in terms of the numbers and various other things, because they focus on waste actually. But what is Six Sigma? The focus is on variation. In other words, what we are saying, in Lean actually our enemy is waste, war on waste. We want to kill the waste, or we want to reduce the waste. In Six Sigma, we are looking at variation, how to reduce or how to eliminate. Is that clear, everybody? Yeah, that's what we're looking at in the difference between Lean and Six Sigma. Lean is used for simple problems. I see there is a leakage in the water tap. What do? Go close it. After some time, again you see a leakage. You go and close it. After 5 times, in spite of closing, it's still leaking. What do? You have to do something beyond just closing the tap. Yes or no? Yeah? So Lean is about that first portion. In other words, what we are talking about, it's for simple problems which is very obvious, staring in front of you. You know exactly what is the problem. So you jump from problem to solution. You don't have to study too much detail into the causes. You don't have to study too much quantitatively into the causes, and you don't have to do a big analysis because it's a simple problem. Happened, you try to look at it and then see. Now, here in Six Sigma, we're talking about complex problems. You're talking about a complex problem. Complex problem is what? A problem which is an engineering problem which you are not able to figure out what is happening, why it is happening. Yeah? At least you understand what is happening. You don't know why it is happening. Yeah? The why is a big question. So that is focus on the complex problems. Here the solution is known. In Six Sigma, it's a voyage of discovery. You don't have a solution. You only have a problem. You know there is a problem. You don't know the solution. Let's say if a person is having a yellowish eye, the treatment is not for the yellowish eye. After diagnosis, the treatment is for the liver. So the symptom is here in the eye, but the treatment is for the liver. You got the difference? That is clinical investigation. That's kind of clinical investigation we do in problem solving. It's a very, very powerful skill. That's why I said it's a life skill you guys are learning. Even in some of the top-notch leadership interviews today, when I said this problem solving skill is a very important skill that is expected out of a leader, whatever level. If they don't have this problem solving skill, then you're not going to be able to grow in your career. Please understand. That's why this is very important. So, complex problems, solution unknown, I apply a methodology called as Six Sigma. This is observation driven. Lean is very simple. Go, see, fix it. Go, see, fix it. Very simple. I got an oil leakage, fix it. Done. You don't require a root cause analysis. You don't require a complete detailed quantitative analysis around that. Is that clear, everybody? But in Six Sigma, it's data driven. So the key word here is what? Data. So here is what? It makes it more interesting. Yeah? Data driven. So Six Sigma is highly data driven, which means it helps me to eliminate all the subjectivity and be very objective. Yeah? So in Six Sigma, we always have this mantra. In God we trust, all others bring data. So I tell in my meetings, actually, in my review meetings, if you have an opinion, sorry, it doesn't matter for me. Only my opinion matters unless you bring data. Simple. If you bring the data and falsify and prove that this opinion is wrong, then we'll talk about it. Otherwise, without data, we don't speak. Is that clear? In other words, data convinces, opinion confuses. Opinion, everybody can have opinion, right? I might have my past experience, I might have my own opinion, all of those things, right? So it's completely data driven. That's what you're looking at in Six Sigma. Is that clear, everybody? Yeah? Good. Some examples of waste, and I know I'm going to share this with you guys. We'll go through that. I'll just give you some examples. So this is how we remember. Actually, originally Toyota came out with 7 types of waste, and then later it was added with one more waste called skill, actually underutilized skill. So Tim Woods, that's how we remember. Tim Woods, T-I-M-W-O-O-D-S. So basically, this is like this. Tim Woods. That's how you remember. T stands for transportation waste, moving product in and out of storage. No signs, bad area layout, excessive file of documents. All of these are examples of waste. Similarly, inventory. Inventory is what? Excessive office supplies, files piled, batch processing, all those obsolete files, no sufficient cross-training, all of these are examples. Motion. What is the difference between transportation and motion? Transportation is from one place to another. Motion is within the workstation. In your own workstation, for example, I'll ask you a simple question. In your computer, you got an email, let's say 4 months before, and I ask you to retrieve that email now. How quickly can you retrieve? That depends on how well you organized yours. If you organized your email in such a way, very beautifully, then you will be able to retrieve it very quickly. That means your productivity improves, right? That's called motion. Motion is what? Self-managing our workplace, self-managing our workstation, and so on and so forth. And waiting is for waiting for approval, signature, all of those things. Then overproduction, producing more than one, a backup of backup, and backup of backup, but still I don't have a backup. Yeah, checking over a checking, yeah, on an invoice processing, and still the customer sees an error, or you entered something wrongly. Yeah. So these are the examples of overproduction, overprocessing. Overprocessing is basically multiple signatures and so on and so forth. Defects is what you get actually as seen by a customer, and then underutilized skills is basically how am I using my team skill. My team member has huge number of skills, but I am not utilizing to the fullest extent. That is also a waste. That was the 8th waste added recently. So that's why it's 8 types of waste Tim Woods. Now what I want you to do is take 1 minute, just take 1 minute, and I want to write down only one waste that from tomorrow onwards you're going to cut down in your workplace. When I say workplace, at home, at your workstation, wherever actually, just write down what you can do. Don't give an advice to others. What you are going to implement from tomorrow, one waste that you believe that you will do. For example, tomorrow onwards, I'll just give you an example. So I always tell this actually when I was working in one of the multinational. The first thing I did was I disabled the reply all in the Microsoft Outlook. Now I want to say happy birthday to you. I reply all. The whole world, 5,000 people will get to know that I'm wishing you a happy birthday. Why the hell you want to waste? Just go and wish her. So it's a waste of server space and everything, right? And everybody's. So simple things matter a lot. Reply all. And I want to really solve some problems and I want to discuss with you. But always I believe what? If I send an email, my job is done. But by sending an email, the job is not done. You not solve the problem, right? So what we say is, don't send email. Email is a form of communication that was introduced actually to replace those days of paper memos. Now today email is used for covering your back, saying that I've done, my job is done, it's up to him, passing the ball, right? Passing hot potato from my lab to your lab, my job is done. So by sending an email, the job is not done. So these are some of the simple things, even the world-class organization miss out on that. That's what Lean teaches about. Lean is all about waste reduction. So now what I want you to do is take 2 minutes, not more than 2 minutes, I'll stop that actually after 2 minutes, write down one waste that you as an individual will do to reduce or eliminate waste. It could be anything. It could be anything. Tomorrow you might say, I will come to college only by cycle. I'll not use my vehicle. Could be anything. Just think and write down. Please, 2 minutes. Quickly, all of you write down. One waste which in your control you can eliminate or reduce from tomorrow. Is that clear, everybody? Please do it quickly. Quickly. One waste. I take my bike key and I put it in a place where it's supposed to be so that next day I don't search for it. It's as simple as that. That's called 5 Rs, right? Anything. Yeah. Any of the waste that I spoke about. Just write one waste and tell me what is that you can do. Don't give advice to others. Don't tell that he can do that. That's easy. Only one. Quickly. Quickly. Is it so difficult or what? There's so many ways, right? At home, here, printing, saving, backup. All the 3R principles, right? You know the 3R principles, now you're talking about 6R, right? Reduce. Yeah. Have you seen this Netflix documentary on minimalism? Yes, no? You guys watch Netflix or not? Go and watch this minimalism. It's a very famous documentary, one of the top 10 documentaries worth watching. Actually, it's about a guy who is talking about how minimalist being in life makes him happy. Happiness comes with being minimal. You getting what I'm saying? Yeah? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. In personal life also, right? You get disappointed when you have expectations. So don't have too much of expectations. Yeah. So you can always go with that. Okay, good. Give me some examples of waste. What one waste you can do? Quickly. Anyone, randomly. You don't want to have or you want to have? Lovely. Lovely. Give him a round of applause. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah. Okay. You can reduce or eliminate. That's a choice. That's a choice you're going to make. Because I believe that we can't eliminate certain things. Sometimes you have to reduce it or reduce as low as possible. Yeah, go ahead. Any other?
Charging my mobile phone overnight.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, the whole night it's getting charged and all of those things. Yeah, absolutely. Good.
Organizing my day at the start so that I don't procrastinate.
Lovely. Planned. Yeah. But I'll tell you, actually, 15 years back, actually, I had one practice of carrying things to do. And then I eliminated it. No, you won't believe. Initially, it was tough. But later, I realized I became efficient if I don't have things to do because I don't have an opportunity to procrastinate. I'll do it tomorrow. Nothing. So I dispose it off immediately. Any email comes to me, there are only 3 decisions. Control Shift Delete, out, reply, delegate. So 2 or 3 actions, quick, fast. So if we keep it pending, then it keeps go on for the next day, next day, next day. So I found that I become more efficient if I don't have that kind of a approach, which I actually overcame 10, 15 years back. Any other quickly from there? Guys, any other waste? Quickly, one example. Any waste that you thought about, which you want? Huh? Sorry? Key? Meaning early?
Going to bed early.
Oh, going to bed early. Okay, wonderful. Sleep early, yeah, yeah. But fix a time. What is early for you may not be early for your parents. Right? Possible, right? Yeah, it happens. It does happen. So operational definition of early has to be clear, huh? Whether it's 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. or 11 or whatever. Anyone from these guys? Yeah. Tell me anything. One waste. Lovely. Lovely. All of you give a round of applause for all of you guys. Wonderful. See, this is how you begin from yours. That's exactly what we are talking about lean. Lean is all about common sense. It's all about common sense. Is that clear? You start with actually waste identification and then there are tools and techniques for that. We'll come to that later. Yeah? Okay, good. Now let's move on. Here is an example of a lean value stream map. It's called value stream map actually. This is about submission of a document. I will share with you in detail actually and we'll see this in the next session. Value stream map is basically talking about how the value flows like a process map. This is called value map. Value map matlab each one stage what is the value addition that you are bringing in. That's why you see processing time, all of those things you will see and then how it is and then you try to improve this process. This is a to be value stream map, how you are actually able to reduce your complete waste in the process. So this is one of the very famous tool used there actually. Yeah? Good. Now let's talk about Six Sigma. We spoke about lean. Now we'll talk about history of Six Sigma. So the first origin of Six Sigma dates back to the origin of statistics. So it was this guy Carl Friedrich Gauss. That's why it's called Gaussian distribution. If you know, he introduced the concept of bell-shaped curve, the normal curve. Yeah. Yeah, that was back in 1700 to 1800. That's where we are. And then after that, Walter Shewhart and Deming were working in AT&T Bell Laboratories in the year 1920s. Around that, they were working on how to solve the problem, variation, reduction, and all. Then he introduced a concept called control chart. That's why it's called Shewhart control chart. Shewhart came out with that concept. That's why it's called Shewhart control chart. Then what happens? The term was introduced by a Motorola engineer called Bill Smith. That was in 1980s. Yeah. So in the 1980s, he introduced this concept in Motorola, and then he said 99% good quality is not sufficient. We have to go beyond 99%. That's what he came out with the concept. He said if Motorola has to become world class, then we need to bring in. So Bill Smith came out with this concept. After that, a few people like Michael Harry, some of those guys actually came out with this. And finally, it became so popular with Jack Welch when he became the CEO of GE, General Electric. And then he actually was very, very disciplined and particular about introducing this concept in GE to make it a world class. So popularized by GE's Jack Welch. Jack Welch was a ex-CEO of GE. Now, what is Six Sigma? In Six Sigma, we call it as 30-second elevator speech. Why that is called as 30-second elevator speech? You guys actually from business, and you are going to be in various businesses after this. So when you are there, you will not get a huge opportunity, time opportunity or a FaceTime with some of the senior guys. Do you agree? So this is famously called as elevator speech because you might find the CEO on the elevator. Before he reaches the floor, you have to convince him. That's why it's called elevator speech. Is that clear? You have to make sure that he gives you more time. That 1 minute or half a minute is not going to help you in any way to convince him. But at least it will help you to convince him to give another 30 minutes time for you to explain something so that you are listened, heard, you have a FaceTime. Is that clear, everybody? So that is why actually this is called as a elevator speech. So we can read it out. The most important things I'll tell you, the most important one. It's a disciplined data-driven approach. Please remember, without data, there is no Six Sigma project. And it is for what? Process improvement. Aimed at the near elimination of defects from every product, process and transaction. Yeah. The purpose of Six Sigma is to gain breakthrough knowledge on how to improve processes to do things better and faster. This is our objective. Basically, we are looking for better and faster the way we turn around. So it can be applied to every facet of business, every industry, everywhere it can be applied. It can be applied for manufacturing, IT, services, across, anywhere. As long as you have a process, as long as you have a data, you will be able to do that. Is that clear, everybody? So it's designed to provide tangible business results, cost savings, and directly traceable to the bottom line. So ultimately, the business is looking for two things. What are the two things? Efficiency, effectiveness. In business excellence, we call it as efficiency, effectiveness. What is efficiency? What is efficiency? Yeah. Yeah. Fast, time saving. Yeah. What is effectiveness? In business excellence language, if you look at a business, a simple way to define efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency is business results. Effectiveness is customer results. The so what? Let's say we take a invoice processing. I did this invoice processing within the required time, within the SLA. Yeah, efficient. But did I do it correctly? Did I do it to the satisfaction of the stakeholder? If it's an accounts payable, it's for the vendor. If it's an accounts receivable for the customers, and so on and so forth. Did I do it actually? That is called as effectiveness. So in engineering language, we call it as ETA, right? Efficiency is output by input. You can still produce an output, but the output may not be useful to the stakeholders. That is being efficient. But being efficient alone is not sufficient. We have to be effective also. That means the usefulness of the output is also very important. We need to have that. That is called as effectiveness. So basically, we are looking at efficiency and effectiveness. So what is Six Sigma? It's a measure of quality. It's a process for continual improvement. Very rigorous methodology to improve the process control. So basically, when these guys came out with Six Sigma concept, they said 99% quality is not good. So you have to go for 99.9997%, 3 nines followed by 7. Which means what we are saying in practical meaning of this 99 and 99 point, you might think it's just 0.9997%. But that 0.997% makes a hell of a lot of difference. And the difference is like this. Let's say you have an unsafe drinking water for almost 15 minutes each day. That's called 99%. But if you move to 99.9997%, what is that? 1 unsafe minute every 7 months. Imagine the difference. That 0.997% is huge, right? It's very huge. Similarly, 2 short or long landings at a major airports at each day. That's 99%. One short or long landing every 5 years. It's a huge difference. Imagine if this is applied to a mission critical processes such as healthcare. You can't afford to say that, oh, out of 1,000 patients treated, I treated, only one patient died. That acceptable? That's like 99%. So that 99% is not acceptable. You want to become world class, you have to go to 99.9997%. So in parts per million, it's PPM language, it's called as 3.4 defects per million opportunity. DPMO, defects per million opportunity. Toyota is now talking about PPB, parts per billion. In 1 billion, how many errors that I make? That is the level of this one. That means you are talking about 99 point followed by 99999 and so on and so forth. But always closer to 100%. But can 100% be achieved? Yeah, it can be an aspiration. It can be an aspiration. Zero defect can be an aspiration. But can you achieve? Yeah, you can always do that, continually improve. But how much? How quickly can you go? That's what we are looking at in a Six Sigma. So measurements are important because unless I know what I know, we can't express and what we know in the form of numbers, then we really don't know much about it. If we don't know much about it, we can't control it. If we can't control it, we have the massive chance. So ultimately what you're saying is, unless you have data, and if you have data to measure and understand, unless I know that I'm in the first floor, I can't go to the 8th floor, right? I don't even know either I'm in the first floor or basement, how will I go to the 8th floor? You tell me. So that's what it's all about. Actually, so measurements form the foundation of Six Sigma. So now, we always use this average, right? As a metric, right? Average productivity, average sales, average earnings, right? Average output, average. But average is a bullshit metric, honestly. Because, I'll just prove it now. So, let's say you have 49 and 51. What is the average? 50. 99, 1. What is the average? Are they same? Now, I've proven average is a bullshit metric. Simple. It is like putting one leg in the refrigerator, another leg in a heater and say my average body temperature is 30 degrees. But the legs are feeling the pain. You getting what I'm saying? So, average is a useless metric, but average can be useful only if the process is under control and if you have another associated metric called a standard deviation. An average without standard deviation is a useless metric. Is that clear, everybody? Yeah? So another example is, let's say I say jump into the water, cross the river. I say on an average it's only 5 feet. What will you do? Will you jump? In some places it can be more. So this is a problem with average. So average is always misnomer. So you better be careful. Unless you have a standard deviation, don't use the word average. So what is Six Sigma? It's a measure of variation, stability and capability. Stability means variation under control. Capability means meeting the target. Please remember, stability means variation under control. I want to reduce the variation or eliminate the variation. Elimination will be very, very difficult. At least reduce the variation. That's called stability. That means process is under control. And then capability is target is met. So let's take an example of people arriving at an office. Let's say 8:30 is the time that people have to report to the office. Is that clear? Let's take this example. This is a very, very important, powerful example for you to understand Six Sigma. And then I'll take you through a few examples and then we are done. So what is let's say the defect definition or the employment policy says, HR policy says that you have to be at the office at 8:30 a.m. Is that clear, everybody? So now I am going to give you a scenario. That means my defect definition is anybody who comes after 8:30 is a defect. This side is defect and this side is all good. This is good. Anybody who comes before 8:30 is okay or equal to 8:30 is okay. So now let's take this data. Please look at this data. All of you are able to read this data? Yeah? Look at this data. I have 5 days of data and I have 2 staff, staff A and staff B, coming on that particular date, each day at that particular time. For example, on day 1, staff A comes at 8:40, day 2 comes at 8:25, 8:35, 8:27, 8:28. And the defect definition is what? Anybody who turns in after 8:30, even if they punch in at 8:30 is okay, is a good one. Now looking at this data, I want to ask you a question. Don't immediately answer. Think. Who is better performing, A or B? How many say A? Please raise your hand. The others not raising means you are going to B or you are still thinking. B. Who is saying B? Anybody? So whoever has not raised the hand, are you still guys thinking? Or everybody is saying it's only A? What do you think? A is better? Really? Tell me. A. Just now I said averages could be B's. Oh, somebody is saying B, so we need to understand this. Why B is better than A? So let's take this. Let's take this example. So let's say I'm going to give a metric here called as number of defects. What is the defect definition? Anything above 830 is a defect. Yes or no? Yeah? Clear. That's a failure. That's a failure. Now, how many defects in the staff A? Okay. How many in B? So, how are you saying A is better than B? I just proved. If you do a performance appraisal like this, then the guy B will come and ask, I also came only 2 times. He also came only 2 times. How are you saying A is better than B? Yes or no? Don't go subjective. Don't go subjective. Look at the data. You guys have to get into data, quantitatively analyze. So look at this. Tell me. Hey, here guys. Yeah, go ahead. So what? So what? Answer that question. So what? You are there. So what? So which means you are saying B is better than A. Okay. Okay. So whoever said A is better than B, who is saying this? Anybody? Yeah, go ahead. For who? For who? So which means what is your result? A is better, B is better. But yeah, we'll discuss that. Just park your thought. Just let's get this thought clearly. If I just only look at the number of defects, obviously A is also having 2 and B is also having 2. So which means both are equally performing. That's what comes as a number, right? Yes or no? From that number of defects. Yes or no? Yeah? So that is what we called as ability to meet the target. So basically this is nothing but your capability. So in terms of capability, A is equal to B. Both are having only 2 defects. But if you measure the deviation, who is that actually who said? Yeah, give him a round of applause. If you look at the variation, look at the variation here. So variation can be measured in multiple statistical measures. You all know that. I don't have to teach you. I think you have statistics management for research. You would have studied in your MBA or even before. It's basically measure of central tendency, measure of dispersion, and so on and so forth. In measure of dispersion, you have range, variance, standard deviation, and all of those things. So let's say I am going to use range here. Okay. So what is the range? Range means what? Maximum minus minimum, right? Maximum minus minimum. So what is the maximum here? 840. What's the minimum? Yeah, which means how much? 15 minutes is the range. Correct? Yes or no? 15 minutes is the range. What is the range for staff B? 7 to 10:30. You got 3 hours, 180 minutes. 180 plus 30, 210 minutes is the range for staff B. So which means in terms of stability, A is better than B. In terms of capability, A is equal to, you understand the difference? But I want not only being capable but also stable. Because a world-class organization always looks at being a world-class performer, not just 1 day, 2 day, 3 day. Just because my mood is good, it's raining, it's nice weather, so I'll give you a good service. But tomorrow if its weather is bad, actually I'll give you a bad service. It's not based on that. A world-class organization provides everything consistently, meeting the target again and again and again and again. That's called world-class organization. Do you all agree? Yeah? So which means I'm not only looking for capability, but also I'm looking for stability. So which means in terms of capability, they both are equal. In terms of stability, A is better than B. So what? Let's ask that question. So what? So what if somebody is stable? So what if the process performance is stable? So what if the variation is under control? So what? This so what is a very powerful question. Huh? So what? So what if it is stable? Okay, I'll give you an example. Let's say tomorrow I have a meeting with my director, board director, and in that meeting I want one of my team members, staff A or B, to attend with me. Let's say, yeah? Now, who do you think I'll bet on, A or B? Why? Why? Consistent. Consistency means what? Next.
Stability.
Next. Stability. Consistency means what? Means what? So what? One important word which you said. In forecasting, what do you do? Predictability. Stability means predictability. I have the confidence that tomorrow also this guy, even if it is late, he will be plus or minus 5 minutes. But I can't trust the other guy. Because sometimes he has come on a 7 in the morning, early morning, and so on and so forth. It's very difficult. No? So that is what is the problem that you face. So in terms of confidence, I will have better on A, bet on A rather than B. But who is easy to improve, A or B? Quickly. Simple. A or B, who is easy to improve? Why? Why A? If it's near to the target, it will be. Okay, let me answer the question with a question. Let me answer that question with a question. Let me ask you, is it easy to improve from 60 to 90%, 90 to 99%, 99 to 99.99 and so on? Which is easy? Answer my question, simple. 60 to 90 is easy or 99 to 99.99? 60 to 90, A or B? B. B is easy to improve. That's called, it's under the influence of special cause variation, easy to identify, easy to fix. If it's under the common cause variation like staff A, for example, the staff A is crossing 7 signals. On one day, all the 7 signals turn green. He ends up 5 minutes earlier. On one day, all the 7 signals turn red. He ends up 15 minutes late. On some days, some turn green, some turn red, plus or minus 10 or 15 minutes. But if you look at the staff B, there is a very specific reason why he turned in at 7 or 10:30. On 10:30 day, which is on day 3, probably there was a procession going, or his tire got punctured, flat tire. So easy to identify the cause, easy to fix certain things, easy to identify. That is why staff B is better. Is that clear, everybody? So I'll give you one more example, day-to-day example. You would have seen in all the Indian movies also. In Indian movies, there's a very famous scene, always happens, right from 60s, 70s even, probably. There's a patient getting admitted into a hospital, a serious condition, goes into the ICU. Everybody is anxiously waiting what the doctor will say. Then the doctor comes out. And when the doctor comes out, he wants to answer the family. What is the condition of the patient? Correct? Then what does he do there? Usual acting is what? They remove the... that is the end of it. So they remove the spectacles and then they say, the patient is stable but still critical. Have you seen this word? Patient is stable but still. So what is that? It's a profound meaning. There is a profound meaning for that. What do you mean by that?
For time being, they're okay. But anything might happen.
Understand this example and tell me. There's a profound meaning for that. Patient is stable but still critical. What does it mean? Let's say when the patient was brought into the ICU, his blood pressure was varying between 140 to 200, let's say. What is a normal human being BP? 80 and 120, systolic diastolic pressure. 80 and 120. 80 to 120, systolic diastolic pressure. Now when he was brought in, the variation was 140 to 200. Now after all this intravenous, everything, ICU, all the attempts were made by the doctor, finally the variation was brought under control from 140 to 200 to 140 to 160. The variation is brought under control. That means the patient is stable. That means predictable. But still the patient is critical. Why? Because not meeting the standard parameters. What is the standard parameters? 80, 120. Unless that happens, he will not be moved to the general ward. Unless that happens, he will not be moved to the general ward. That is what is the meaning of the statement made by the doctor. Patient is stable but still critical. You need to understand this. Very powerful. That's what you're talking about here. Any process needs to be not only capable, not only meeting the target, but also ability to consistently perform and meet the target on an ongoing basis. That's how you can be world class. Is that clear, everybody? Good. So these are examples of what is the difference between a 3 sigma and a 6 sigma. So if you look at, sorry. Yeah. What is the 2 sigma process? We are talking about 308 500 defects per million. What is a 6 sigma process? 3.4 defects per million opportunity. So which means a 6 sigma is not a multiplication of 2 sigma. It is actually 90,735 times better than a 2 sigma process. That's what we mean by that. So it's not just the tip of the iceberg. You have to look at multiple things. I'll share this with you guys. So basically what you're saying, imagine that you have a tree full of fruits. So basically you improve the capability of the current system, all these low hanging fruits, ground lying fruits, all those things, you fix it through DMAC journey, and then you go up to the bulk fruit, and then you get the 4.5 sigma wall, and then you go into DMA DB, which is called as design for 6 sigma. Yeah. And what's in it for you in the DMAC journey? You have all the ability to reduce your complaints, reduce turnaround time, loyalty scores, and so on. So for all of those things can be done. So overview of DMAC, actually I'll quickly go through this: define, measure, analyze, improve, control, and then we'll jump onto it. Define is defining the problem, a clear statement of what is the problem. In mathematics we always say a well defined problem is half solved. Yeah. So that's what you do in define. In measure, we gather the existing baseline of where we are, we measure it, we analyze and confirm the root causes with the data, and then we improve, try out some solutions for this, and then you do all of those things. And then finally you want to control the process, actually standardize it actually and control it. This is how actually we do the DMAC journey entirely. Is that clear? I'll pause here for a moment for any questions, and then I'll quickly run through practical application in an F&A process, how we did this actually, and then we will open this for any question and answer. Any questions quickly so far? Are we clear? The key concepts: quality, grade, quality control, quality assurance, defect, defective, 6 sigma, lean. What are the types of waste in 6 sigma? What is that actually? What do you mean by 6 sigma? The elevator speech. Then the most important concept, stability and capability. Stability is variation under control, and capability is ability to meet the target. Ability to meet the target. Any questions so far? Otherwise we'll move on. We'll go through the application of this. But before that, a process thinking. We all know that 6 sigma is data driven. So obviously we represent it in the form of a y as a function of x. Effect is impact of causes. So y in actually statistical language is called as dependent variable, and x is called as independent variable. In the process language, y is called as output. In the x is called as input process. In the cause and effect language, y is called as effect and x is called as a causes. And effect is what is a symptom which you can monitor, and causes is what you want to control actually. That is where you can become a great manager. So a good manager for me is one who knows the x. That's why it's called x. X means what? Unknown. You have to go and figure it out. You have to go and figure it out what is that x actually, and then control it. Otherwise it's like winning the game watching the scoreboard. Can you win a game watching the scoreboard?
No, sir.
That only gives me blood pressure, the run rate, everything. I can't do anything about it. The actual x is on the field conditions. How do I place my field? What do I do on the field? So that is why x is very important. A good manager actually has a very good control of x. So I always believe in any review also, our focus is more on the x actually rather than y. Yeah? Good. Effect to cause is a 6 sigma way. So here is an example of a accounts payable process and how we went on. And I'll give you an example in one of the largest accounts payable process, invoice processing. How did we actually manage to get the process efficient and effective? Efficiency means what? Business results. Effectiveness is customer results. Is that clear, everybody? So for which I need to understand the process first. A simple diagram called as a turtle diagram. What is this called? A turtle diagram. So look at the process. What is the process you're talking about? Accounts payable. Accounts payable is what? A vendor has supplied me something, product or service. I'm going to do invoice processing and I'm going to make sure that the payment is made to the vendor. Is that clear? So what are the key inputs for this? What are the key inputs? What are the key inputs? Purchase order, invoice, goods receipt note, delivery challan, all of these things are part of the input. And what is the output for this? What is the output? It's a processed invoice, payment authorization finally, so that the payment can be made to the vendor. That's what we are looking at. And what are the resources that we use? Human, machine, material. We know that processing staff, scanners, printers, computers, delivery challan, SOP checklist, all of those things. And what are the controls? Inspection, audit. Now there are some efficiency and effective metrics. What is efficiency metrics? What are the metrics? The delivery turnaround time, the cost per FTE, your cost per invoice, and so on and so forth. What is the effectiveness? On-time delivery, vendor satisfaction score, inspection and audit score. All of those lead indicators are efficiency metrics. Lag indicators are called as effectiveness metrics. All the customer satisfaction scores and all of those things. That's a term we use in business excellence for any KPIs. Yeah, lead indicator and lag indicator. So if you look at this, this is what we took it, and then here is an example of how we went through the project, the executive summary of a DMAIC project. So we took a situation where there are high errors in accounts payable process. So the objective was to reduce error by 50%. And what are the solutions? So in this, if you notice, this is an executive summary for a management. Yeah, and it has a 4 blocker. Can you see here? But I have never spoken about causes here, because the management is not interested in causes. Management is interested in what? Here is a problem. Is this problem really important to me? And what are the solutions you have done? And what is the effect of it? Right? That's all I'm interested in. That's why you don't see in this 4 blocker causes. So that's how you do a good executive management summary. So you can clearly see what are the selected solutions, some of those things like mistake proofing, redesign the invoice, and so on and so forth. And then we had this, all the car. Are you getting what I'm saying? So it depends on what stage. It depends on which stage are you as a product or completed product. So that is why defective is at a finished good stage in ERP language, and defects is what you find in between. And basically a defective product or a service can have n number of defects. That's the idea. Got it? Good. Any other questions? Quickly. Anybody here? Any questions? Any thoughts? Yeah, go ahead, please.
For the corrective and preventing action, you told you say two companies for the preventing action. As you say, the 100%, not every company will do the preventing action. What are the two companies doing the action?
I will do that. I will tell you offline. I don't want to record it actually in that sense actually. So that is why. But it's a world-class company. See, what I am trying to say is preventive action is not easy. It is not easy. Bosch and Toyota, basically, they do this actually because see, to do an FMEA, to do a preventive action, it's not going to be easy. It will take a hell a lot of time and effort. So that is why even ISO latest standards doesn't talk about preventive action. They only talk about corrective action because they know for sure that you can't do a full-fledged preventive action and fix the potential causes. Yeah, good. Any other question, please? Anybody? Good. Otherwise, I think good. Actually, I hope you learned something. Actually, some of the concepts here. Please go and apply this. This is only foundational. Actually, as I said, some of the terms that you use, you better be careful when you use it. Quality, grade, defect, defective, quality control, quality assurance. Yeah, lean, Six Sigma, stability, capability. You better be careful when you use these terms actually, and apply this. Apply this in personal life as well professional life. I apply this actually everywhere. That's why most of the times actually you get actually, that's how you become an expert in that. Is that clear? Okay, with that, thank you so much. I really thank the DG Vaishnav School of Management, especially Professor Amaleshwari. I used to visit this college right from Dr. Ganesan days actually. So thank you so much actually for all of you, and thank you for organizing this. Thank you Jeevita madam also for that, for organizing this. Wonderful, and let's be in touch if you have any doubts. Thank you. we saw last time the fundamentals, right? The introduction to Lean Six Sigma in finance and accounts. So if you remember, we spoke about what is quality, what is grade, quality control, quality assurance, what's the difference, defect, defective, what is the difference, Lean, Six Sigma, how this has come together. Yeah, types of waste, absolutely, that's part of the Lean, because Lean is about waste elimination, and Six Sigma is about variation reduction. We saw all those things. Then we also saw process thinking, y as a function of x, how it helps actually in solving problems. And we also saw one case about how this Lean Six Sigma was applied in a finance and accounts process, and how we were able to improve the performance, right? That's what we saw. So as a continuation today, what we will do is quickly look at the first follow-up after that would be to how do we define a problem? This is a very important question that we all had in our mind, because there's a saying, if a problem is well defined, it's half solved. Now, how do we define a problem? Now, I don't know if you've heard of this. Actually, sometimes without even solving a problem, problems disappear. Huh? You seen that? In personal life as well in professional life? Yes or no? Why do you think it happens? Any thoughts quickly? Some problems, without even attacking anything, without even doing anything, it just disappears. Why? What could be the reason? Huh? It's not even the problem. Or what was seemingly a problem now has become not a problem. Yeah, that is one. Then, see, problem is always sometimes, or many a times, it's contextual, right? What is a problem probably 10 years back may not be a problem today. Now, the reason for that is not because that the problem has been solved. It is because something else has got priority. That's the difference, yeah? Because the context changes, the dynamic changes around us, whatever things, a lot of things changes. So sometimes without even solving a problem, the problem seems to be disappearing and vanishing. So that's what we saw. So let's first understand how to define a problem, how to get this problem definition clarity, so that this is a foundation for any solving of the problem. So that is what we are going to see today. So let's look at this. So in define, if you look at it, so the first, which is the first step in a DMAIC approach, define, measure, analyze, improve, control. In the define approach, if you really see, there are 3 steps involved in that. Because you're going to run a project to solve a problem. So obviously we need to develop a project charter. Then you need to map the current process. And I think I told you last session itself that without a process, there is no Six Sigma project. Without identifying the process, there is no Six Sigma project. So there's a process thinking is important. Identifying the process is very critical. And then the most important thing is, without a metric, without a measurement, again, there is no Six Sigma project, because unless I know I am in the ground floor or basement, I can't go to the 4th floor or 5th floor. So I need to understand where I am. So I need to measure myself. I need to understand, the metrics, how I measure consistently across, so that you will be able to see whether you have really improved or not. So that's why metrics definition is important. So there are 3 steps involved in a defined phase: developing a project charter, mapping the current process, and then metrics definition. 3 important deliverables that we will see, and the tools involved in that also we'll be able to see. Yeah, that's what we're going to see today on how to define a problem. See, a problem needs to be expressed in such a way that it has to be very focused. It's important, because unless I express this problem statement with so much clarity and specificity, I will never be able to actually understand the problem in depth and then come out with analysis and improvement. So analysis and improvement comes later. First is about a focused problem statement. Now let's take the example of an accounts payable process, and the customer was facing a problem which is delay in invoice processing, accounts payable. Now a simple tool that we'll be using is actually 4W2H. It's like when you go to a doctor, what does the doctor first ask you as a question? What's the problem? What is the problem? Yeah? So that first question is what? So the first question we are answering is what is the problem? Here in this case is a business problem. So we are talking about what is the problem. The customer is saying there is a delay in invoice processing, especially in accounts payable when a vendor invoices are being processed. The next question, the doctor, let's go back to the doctor scenario because it's a clinical investigation that we are doing. Yeah. So a doctor would ask what question? Where is the problem? He presses here. Is it paining? Is it paining? Is it paining? You know, you're saying there's a problem in my tummy. There's a ache that is happening. Then he touches everywhere and then he tries to quickly do some understanding of where the problem is located. Now, in the where, if you really see, in a business context, in a business problem, you have 4 questions. First is which geography and location, because each of the problem could vary from geography to geography, location to location, right? So which location do we have these problems? Is there any specific location or is it cutting across all the locations? The second question is what category of customer, what customer segment is getting impacted? Is it all the customers or only few customers? That's the next question. On the products and services, which line of business is getting impacted? Which type of product, which type of service is it getting impacted? It's getting impacted because of this problem. And the fourth important point, which is very important, without a process, there is no Six Sigma project, as I told you. What is the start point? What is the end point of this process? Where do you want to focus, actually? Yeah? Now, you can always look at an end-to-end perspective, that is from customer to customer. But here in this case, if you're talking about a delay in invoice processing, and hence the vendors are not getting payment on time, so obviously I need to look at certain processes, right? And which are those processes? That's what we're going to look at. So in this example, if you really see, the geography location in this example is Chennai and Mumbai. Who are the customers here? The customer in a vendor payable is obviously accounts payable is a vendor who is getting paid, right? Obviously is our customer in that sense, actually. So vendor becomes the customer. And what type of vendors? These are strategic vendors. They are strategic partnering vendors. They are critical for our business. So hence they are category A vendors, and we need to really address this problem. Without addressing this problem, then we'll have complaints from those vendors and we'll not be able to successfully run the business. So products and services, IT hardware, process start is PO creation and payment processing. The start and end is very clear. So now, who reported this as a problem? This is a very critical one. Now, in the doctor's example, it is not applicable. In the doctor's example, somebody has gone as a patient, so obviously he is reporting it as a problem. But in a business context, who is reporting as a problem is very critical. Why this is important? Why this is important to understand who is reporting this as a problem? Any thoughts quickly? Why this question is important in a business context? Who means which stakeholder is reporting this as a problem? Is it the customer is telling this as a problem? Is it your management is saying this is a problem? Or you yourself woke up this morning to find out, we have to go solve this problem? Yeah. Why this question is important? Who is reporting this as a problem? Is very critical question. Why? In a business context, why? Sorry, ma? Go ahead. Yeah, you can always verify that, but I'm focusing on this simple question, who? How does it matter who is reporting this as a problem? Go ahead. Good. Give him a round of applause. See, the importance of the stakeholder is very critical. The importance of the stakeholder is very critical. You might think there is a problem, but I may think that that's not a problem, right? We all agree? Now, what is problem for you may not be a problem for me. So, who is reporting this as a problem is very, very critical in a business context. So, obviously, here in this case, if a customer is reporting it as a problem, or a strategic partnering vendor is reporting it as a problem, then it's a very critical problem that I need to solve. So, the who matters. Who is reporting this as a problem? It's not that you are reporting it as a problem just because you found out yesterday that you got a problem in invoice processing. Yeah? You're doing it because you clearly see there is a complaint from the vendors, who in this case, which is the customer, your customer, because they are not getting the payment on time. So naturally, you are actually going to solve a very critical problem because it is reported by one of the key stakeholders for the success of your business performance. Is that clear, everybody? Yeah? That's why that who is very important. Then the next question is, when was it escalated? Same question the doctor will ask you. The doctor will ask actually any patient, when did you observe this pain? When did this pain become unbearable? When was this pain really, you felt that this pain has to be really addressed? Yeah? So you come back and say, you know what, 2 months before, it started coming in and whatever actually, but then I didn't realize actually it's so much critical. But last week, if you really see, I was really feeling a terrible pain, so that's why I thought I'll come to the doctor, right? That's what the patient will say, right? It's natural. Same thing here. Who reported this problem, which is not applicable in the doctor's case, but when it comes to when it was escalated, in the month of June, there was a review that happened to the vendors, and the category A vendors were complaining about the payment not being given on time. So that's how it got escalated. So the when is a question where the problem when it got escalated. The problem when it got escalated. That's called when. Then the next question is a very important question. If a doctor doesn't ask this question, I won't even consider him as a doctor. How long this problem has been to a patient? Why this question is important? How long? So what? Let's answer this question. I told you last time itself also. In a business context, the so what is a very important question. So I want to understand how long this problem has been. Now, what is the issue? Now, one, obviously, I will understand the severity. So what? By understanding the severity, so what? Yeah. Absolutely, you're closer to that. Very good. Next, any points here? Girls, quickly. Problem? So by this question, what are you trying to address? What are you trying to give? Yeah, go ahead. Analyze, severity, medication. Yeah, so let's get this right, actually. Yeah. So let's get this right. Two scenarios in the doctor scenario. Let's understand the scenarios and then come back to you. And all the three of you are right, actually. It has to be slightly fine-tuned and understood from the context of the business and from a doctor scenario. So the doctor is asking this patient, how long do you have been having this problem? The patient is saying, you know what, it's about a month. I've been having this problem. It comes and goes and I do not know what to do. Now, in this scenario, the doctor immediately takes a prescription and gives some pills, prescription, and then give it to the patient. Now, scenario number 2, where the patient is saying, this has been a problem I've been facing for last 2 years. It comes and goes. I do not know when it comes, when it goes. Sometimes it is very severe. It's terrible pain. I do not know what is happening. So he's giving a little bit of history to the problem, which is about almost 2 years, let's say, or 1 year. That means this problem is what Dr. Juran calls it as chronic problem. What is this called? Chronic. So now also the doctor prescribes, but he doesn't prescribe a medicine. What does he prescribe? Diagnostics, test. He doesn't give you maybe he can give a painkiller because you are having an unbearable pain. Just for a symptomatic treatment, he might give a painkiller, but he is going to ask you to conduct a lot of tests, and he is going to say that you should be doing this actually, where you have to get all these tests done, and once these tests are done, that is when actually we'll be able to figure out what type of medication, what type of treatment that has to be given. So the treatment depends on this question, how long? That's why it's a very critical question. That's why I said, if a doctor is not asking this question, that means he is expecting you to come to him again and again. A good doctor will ask this question, how long? How long do you have this problem? It's chronic or non-chronic. In other words, what we are saying is ulcer treatment is different from cancer treatment. That's the approach that I'm going to take depending upon that question. How long? Is it a chronic problem or a non-chronic problem? And the same is applicable in the case of business context. Here also I'm asking how long this problem has been there. Is it just it cropped up last month? Is it just cropped up because we introduced some new system last month? Or it's been there for quite some time? Is it chronic? So in this case, actually this example, last 2 years, let's say since May 2023, whatever, actually this is an example of, so that means here the treatment is slightly different. I need to diagnose. I need to now immediately not prescribe a solution, but I need to really do a diagnostics, understand, analyze the root causes and then come back there. And then how much is the pain, which is also a very critical question the doctor will be asking. So what is he asking? He is asking actually, how bearable is this pain? How much is the pain? Now, in the case of a doctor's example, it may be a little subjective. You might say I'm bearable, non-bearable, whatever. It's more of a feeling and experience. But in the case of business context, especially we are living in the world of data, obviously I would expect an answer which will have a data, something like that. How much is the problem? So the problem that we analyzed in the last few months is saying that 70% of the invoices were done in 20 working days. That's too long a period. And the 30% which is going beyond 20 is another problem that you're facing. So all these are causing the delay in payment. Now look at this, how we have actually broken down this with the help of a 4W2H. It's a very powerful tool for any problem. Basics, when you start, you should begin with this question, 4W2H. What is a problem? Where is a problem? Who reported this as a problem? When was it escalated? How long this problem has been? And how much is the problem? If you get this clarity, then it is called as focused problem statement. Imagine if I had said to you with the customer complaint from the vendor saying their payments are getting delayed, which is a simple English verbatim, would you be able to further drill down, analyze and everything? But had I done something like this with a 4W2H, with a focused problem statement, I'm able to now get more clarity into the understanding of the problem. Does it make sense? Yes? No? Yeah? What do you think? Yeah? Does it make sense? I'm telling you, in future, it's all about tools. Why you will be respected actually is because of the tools, the know-how. So remember, the tools are going to be, the how is very important. Now finally, the most important tool that you're going to begin for a problem solving is 4W2H. That's the tool that we are talking about. So next time onwards, when you get a problem, what you should do? Begin with a 4W2H question and get grounded. A focused problem statement, not a generic statement. Yeah, not a generic statement. Is that clear, everybody? Yeah. So we need a focused problem statement further to analyze and improve, and that's the first step in defining a problem. Defining a problem means what? Deeply understanding the problem. How do I in-depth understand a problem? With the help of a tool called 4W2H. Any questions quickly? Any thoughts? So next time when you have a problem, what do? Begin with a 4W2H. That's the most important thing. So why it is important? Focused problem definition. It's like a blind man touching the elephant and then trying to figure out what is the problem. Yeah, everybody has their own perspective, and that's what happens in the media channels, right? In the political discussions and debates, and what happens? Everybody has their own perspective. Without even understanding what is a problem, everybody has an agenda, everybody has a perspective, and everybody has one particular part of the elephant without even knowing that you are solving or you're looking at an elephant. Each one looks different, right? That's a very fair example of how you actually end up defining a problem. So you don't have to get into that trap actually. So what I want you to do is get into a focused problem statement with the help of a 4W2H. So let's tackle the elephant. The approach usually backfires because it's easy to get bogged down trying to do too much at once actually also. Sometimes we end up boiling the ocean. If you don't have a focused problem statement, what happens? You will end up taking a huge chew bite. It's like solving a world hunger problem. If I tell you that go solve the world hunger problem, that's a nice statement, right? But how? Where do I get started? So I need to do some grounding actually. I need to do some 4W2H and get where I need to really start working on the ground. That is why definition is very important. And in the definition, the focused problem statement is very, very important. Are we clear on this? Yeah? Everybody? Yes? No? Yeah. Good. So along with the statement, I also need to develop a project charter. So obviously I need to understand who are the major key players in this whole process. Who are all there? So the green belt, black belt, team members, master black belt, sponsor, who will help me in this project? Is this project going to be really helpful? Is the management supporting this? Is the business is willing to put some effort, put some sponsor, some resources, commit some resources for this? All of those things are critical questions. So you need to involve the key players. Many a times, let me tell you, in any of the DMAIC project, the stakeholder management and identifying the key players is very, very critical actually. If you don't get that right, actually, you will have to end up managing those key players, and that becomes a project by itself. You getting what I'm saying? Yeah. So you will end up actually have to. So that's why stakeholder management is a very, very important topic that you need to understand how to involve them right from the beginning. Imagine if you don't involve a particular key stakeholder at the beginning of the project itself, what will happen? What will happen? And then you're going to involve them at the time of solutioning. What will happen? You're dealing with human beings. Yeah. Emotion, ego, many things. Then your project goes for a toss. You'll never be able to do this project actually at all, right? This is a very important thing actually. You need to involve the right stakeholders and key players at the beginning itself. Selection criteria. There are few selection criteria I've listed down here. Actually, you can go through that actually. Basically, you have to have a process. There should be a start and end point. It should frequently cycle. You should have a very clearly linked to the defined process, key business issue. All of these are very, very critical things before you even start a project. If you don't get this criteria clear and you're starting a project, I have seen some of the DMAIC projects, after 3 months, people come and ask, why the hell did you take this project? It's a waste of time. Now, it's highly demotivating. Huh? After 3 months to 5 months of effort, can you imagine actually what will happen? If somebody, the sponsor is going to come and ask you, oh, that's not priority for me, something else is a priority, then it's gone. The whole improvement and everything goes for a toss. So project selection criteria is very critical. So elements of a project charter, what all it contains: problem and opportunity description. A focused problem statement is a very, very important one. So this is the most important thing. It can be a problem or it can be an opportunity. Yeah. Sometimes you might be solving for an opportunity that you found, and then you're trying to, do some improvement on that. The scope of the project. The scope is where. The question where. In your 4W2H, where, which product, which service, which geography, which business, line of business, which customer, yeah, which process. All of these things are very important on the scope. The goals and measures. What is the goal? Today we are at 70%. At 20 working days. Can I reduce the 20 working days lesser? Can I increase the percentage of invoices processed within 20 days more from 70 to 90%, and so on and so forth. So goals and measures, expected business results. So what? Always ask this question, huh? So what in business is very important. Yeah. So when I asked somebody actually, why do you want quality? Somebody said customer satisfaction. I said, so what? So what if the customer is not satisfied? So you ask this question. The so what is a very powerful question, huh? In business context, actually, you have to keep asking till you get the final answer. So finally, ultimately, why I'm doing this project is basically I'm expecting to get some business results. That means, you know what, the credit agencies and the banks are going to rate me based on my on-time payment to vendor. If I don't pay on time to vendor, my rating will go for a toss. My rating will go down. So obviously, regulators are having an eye on me, whether I'm paying the MSMEs and all the small and medium enterprise on time or not, and so on and so forth. If I don't comply with that, if I don't have this project, what will happen? The regulators are going to fine me. There could be a penalty. Vendors are going to be dissatisfied. My customers are not going to be happy. My customers are going to evaluate me based on my vendor performance, on my on-time payment vendor performance, and so on and so forth. These are business results that you are expected to list down there. And of course, the team member support required, and the customer benefits, and the schedule for the project. So typically, these are the elements that you have in a project chart. Are we clear, everybody? Good. So how do we gauge a potential business results? You estimate the potential opportunity or impact of this actually, and you'll try to understand come out with some estimates in terms of how much you will save, how much will be the opportunity loss that you are avoiding, and so on and so forth. You can arrive at that, and then you can have how you are able to do this with a productive way with the limited resources, and how do I get the big bang for the buck. So stakeholders are important. I think we spoke about it, why it is important, how we need to communicate. Communication is very important. In fact, according to project management body of knowledge, stakeholder management is the most important skill and competency a project manager should have, because a project is deemed to be successful or unsuccessful based on whether it meets or exceeds the expectations of the stakeholders. Many times, I don't know if you've seen that project may be technically successful, but the stakeholders are not happy. Still the project is not successful. As per project management body of knowledge, it is supposed to meet or exceed the expectations of the stakeholders. So stakeholders, how do you manage the stakeholders? Communication. Stakeholder management techniques there are many techniques. I want you to go and learn that actually. I'll share it with you later also, which is power interest grid, salience grid. How many of you know these things? There are 6 techniques Rob Shelney talks about how to influence a stakeholder. Scientific techniques. Because influencing stakeholder is going to be a very important task that you will be having as a manager, when you are actually performing these kind of improvement projects, because these improvement projects are being done responsibility without authority. Can you imagine? You don't have any authority, but you have to complete this successfully this improvement project. So a responsibility without authority cannot be achieved unless you have a good stakeholder management skills. So you need to have this actually. That's why it is important. So what do we do? As I said, after defining the statement, problem statement, after having a focused problem statement, we need to get into a quick understanding of the process. What is this actually? It's called SIPOC. SIPOC means supplier, input, process, output, customer. So let's take the same process. From the where we decided what is the start and what is the end. What is the start? A PO creation of a PO, and it goes up to payment processing. So we are talking about a process called accounts payable process, and I have a bird's eye view of this process. I have 5 to 6 steps actually here, if you see, which can be listed out to find out what is my start, what is my end. Why it is important to define this process start and end? Because it will lead to a scope creep later. Tomorrow somebody may come back and say, why didn't you take the upstream of the process or the downstream of the process actually? So you have to define the boundary of the project very clearly, otherwise it will end up with scope creep. So that's why SIPOC is very important. A very powerful tool to give you a bird's eye view of the process. So how do I do this? I have the accounts payable process. I'm breaking that into 5 or 6 high-level steps. In this case, create PO, receipt of goods and services, receipt of invoice, a 3-way matching happens, goods receipt note, purchase order and invoice, and then after that a payment authorization happens and the payment is processed to the vendor, right? That's how the whole process works. Now in each of this process, there are certain key inputs, there are certain key outputs, if you really see. Now who is giving those inputs? Who is the supplier? It could be an internal supplier or external supplier. And who is the beneficiary of the output? It could be an internal customer or external customer. Look at this actually. Purchase requisition is getting converted into purchase order. So who is giving the purchase requisition? Either the user department have direct access to create a purchase requisition, or they may give it to the procurement department. The procurement department, the buyer could raise a PR, and then it can go for an approval to get converted into a purchase order, right? That's the process. Now who does the benefactor of this purchase order? Obviously the procurement team, because once I get only a purchase order, I can place that purchase order to the vendor or the service provider, if it's a goods or service, depending upon. So then once the vendor bases that purchase order, supplies what? The goods and services. It could be anything. In this case, a IT hardware, it could be supplying a good or services. And once I supply that, there is a confirmation that I receive actually saying that this is what you wanted, the quantity, quality, everything is getting checked. And that's part of the GRN process, right? Goods received. Yeah? The goods and service receipt, and somebody is confirming it. Obviously, the beneficiary of this goods and service confirmation and goods and services, who? The user department, whoever wants that. Actually, it could be a desktop, it could be a laptop or whatever. Now, once you get that, then confirmation is what happened. Then as per the contract, obviously the vendor will raise a vendor invoice because he needs a payment. Now, once a vendor invoice comes in, I need to process it actually and see that if it is as per the purchase order and approve that invoice so that the finance team becomes the important next customer for me, because the finance team is going to process the payment. Payment is done by the finance team, not the procurement team, right? You getting what I'm saying? So it's a whole process. So basically this gives you a complete idea of what is the process, what are the bird's eye view of the process, what are the various steps involved in that, what are the key inputs, what are the key outputs, and who are the key suppliers and who are the key customers. Internal suppliers or internal customers, both are included in this. Are we clear, everybody? Any questions on this? SIPOC. Why this is important? Why this is important? Why SIPOC is important? Guys, tell me. Why SIPOC is important? Why it is important to understand the process at a high level? Why? Give me some reasons why we are doing what we are doing. Yeah. Go ahead. Workflow. Next. Yeah. Understand the process overall. Yeah. Then. What else? What else? Avoid scope creep. Yeah. Somebody was saying? Yeah. Yeah. Very important. In fact, I would prefer identifying the team members after SIPOC. You know why? Because I know my key stakeholders on the supply side and the customer side. So if I want to really get my team members for this project, I would rather first do a SIPOC and then bring in all those people, because all of these people on your supply side as well on the demand side, which is the customer side, both are critical, right? Both are critical and they have to be involved. So scope creep, involving them, these are all the reasons why we do SIPOC. Are we clear on this? Why we are doing? First you define with a focused problem statement, 4W2H. Then you have another tool called as SIPOC, which is giving you a bird's eye view of the process to understand the start and end, the key suppliers, key customers, and what are their key inputs and what are the key outputs, so that you get a clear understanding. Are we clear? Two tools you have now seen. First is 4W2H and then SIPOC. Is that clear, everybody? Yeah? So for any of the process, I have just given an example of an accounts payable process. It could be for any of those processes. Then, once I have defined the problem and I have also got my process understanding, I got a bird's eye view of the process. It's important now I need to understand what is that I am really wanting to attack or attend to, which is a critical to quality or critical to customer. It's otherwise called as critical to quality or critical to customer. What is so critical in this? Now, this is a very, very important step, because it is like this. You know, let's take the same example, solving the world hunger problem. Where do I begin if I have to solve the world hunger problem? It's a big question, right? It's a very high level question. So where do I begin if I want to solve a world hunger problem? So I need to do some quick understanding of which part of the planet I should focus. So what do I do? First, I take continent wise and I try to geographically find out Pareto in terms of where the poverty is very high. Let's say Africa. Now, if I say Africa, can you jump in? Still you've gone from 30,000 to only maybe 20,000 feet. You're not at grounded. Africa, if I say go and focus on Africa, that's huge. That's huge. Now within Africa, you're going to do one more drill down. And what are you going to say? You're going to say which country is having a poverty which is too low and where I need to focus. Is it Somalia? It is Ethiopia, or is any of those countries, whatever. You're going to take some data and quickly get into. So move from 30,000 feet to 20,000 feet and then to the country. And within the country, again, Somalia could be a big country. Now again, within that, actually you have to do something. Yeah. So this is how we are going to proceed. Same thing applicable. I'll give you more examples. So, Dr. Kalam wanted India to be a superpower. Now where do I get started? Region wise. Northeast. In Northeast, I need to get a financial inclusion of some of these states into our country. So obviously I need to look for which state actually I have to focus on. So state wise and within the state. So you're going from 30,000 to ground, because I can do improvement only on the ground, right? Not at 30,000 feet. Are you getting clear? So this is exactly what we are going to do here. in critical to quality, where we are going to define metrics and then go from there. So how do we do this? So if you want to really get the metrics, the first thing is operationally define the metrics. This is the most important thing.